In this news roundup of the week for Friday, 5th of January 2025, have you got your eyes set to the future as we hit this bold new year? Well, China's Xi Jinping has, and he has his eyes on Taiwan's imminent election. The UK is gearing up for new laws, which some say are so threatening to personal privacy that companies like Apple and WhatsApp have said that they would end their services in the country rather than comply. China's Xi Jinping gave a New Year's address this week. In his mind was clearly the coming election in Taiwan, which his words seem specifically designed to impact. He said this: "The reunification of the motherland is a historical inevitability. China will surely be reunified," he said. And he called for compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait to share in the glory of national rejuvenation. This rather underlines that although China hasn't ruled out using military means if all else fails, Plan A seems to be to build its forces, for sure, while simultaneously seeking to gradually build political support within Taiwan through other means of influence, so that ultimately it becomes accepted by the majority that it is useless to resist the growing inevitability for that reunification. For this election, Beijing has attacked the front-runner in the presidential contest, the Democratic Progressive Party's Lei Ching-te, calling him a separatist. Now the polls have narrowed significantly in the later stages of the contest, so the outcome for this one promises to be something of a nail-biter. The outgoing president, Tsai Ing-wen, also gave a New Year address and said that relations with the mainland should be decided by democracy and the will of the Taiwanese people. And she warned about Chinese interference in the election, where it's been seeking to boost the China-friendly Kuomintang party. We might as well get used to this. How elections are attempted to be interfered with by various actors is going to be a pretty consistent talking point in different parts of the world over the coming year. Lev Nachman, a political science professor at the National Chengchi University in Taipei, told the Financial Times that Xi Jinping's warning not going to make a huge amount of difference to how people think about the election there in Taiwan. "It is not that people here," he said, "do not think the threats are credible or that they are real. It's just that Xi Jinping making a speech threatening Taiwan, it's so normal here. It's not that the Chinese leader doesn't have problems of his own to worry about." Also in his speech, he admitted that the Chinese economy had been experiencing headwinds, saying this: "Some enterprises had a tough time. Some people had difficulty finding jobs and meeting basic needs." But he retains his faith, you'll be glad to hear, in technology and innovation as the way through these problems. Everywhere across our country, new heights are being scaled with dogged determination, and new creations and innovations are emerging every day. China would redouble efforts to boost education, advance science and technology, and cultivate talents. You can expect quite a bit of that talent and science and technology will be channeled into the ongoing process of rapidly building China's military hardware, which is significantly outpacing America right now. And that is increasingly making itself felt in the world, with numerous confrontations, for example, in the South China Sea, between Chinese and Philippine vessels, becoming enough of a thing that the foreign ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations issued a statement expressing their concern over the growing threats to peace and security. So yes, a lot will be channeled into the military in terms of that technology and skills and expertise, as well as probably other technologies, such as electric vehicles. as this week saw the top Chinese brand displacing Tesla from being the largest in the world in terms of electronic vehicle manufacturers for the first time. And you can make of that what you will. In the UK, we also want to be technology leaders. At least we do, according to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Or not. Kind of depends on, I don't know, time of day or something. The UK government is aiming to bring in new legislation that tech companies are raising the alarm about. For instance, the industry body Tech UK wrote to the government at the end of last year, warning that the Investigatory Powers Amendment Bill threatens technological innovation, undermines the sovereignty of other nations, and could result in dire consequences. Well, sounds bad. So what does it do that could bring all that about? The bit they're most worried about is a change that could allow the Home Office to issue notices to tech firms, preventing them from making technical updates that might impede information sharing with UK intelligence agencies. Combined with pre-existing powers, which are already considered the most draconian in Europe, this would, quote, grant a de facto power to indefinitely veto companies from making changes to their products and services offered in the UK. Meredith Whittaker, the president of encrypted messaging app Signal, had also pitched in on the topic, telling Politico this: using this power, the government could prevent the implementation of new end-to-end encryption or stop developers from patching vulnerabilities in code that the government or their partners would like to exploit. The government exploit weaknesses to spy on its own people? Surely such a thing would never happen. Although the fact that the first tranche of legislation in this spirit was passed in the wake of the Edward Snowden revelations in the US, where exactly that was going on, well, obviously it's a tricky area. The government's official response is, "What? Never occurred to us, Gov." Or, more specifically, Home Office Minister Andrew Sharp told the House of Lords Committee on the bill that it was, quote, not going to ban end-to-end encryption or introduce a veto power for the Secretary of State, contrary to what some are incorrectly speculating. A government spokesperson went even further, saying, "We have always been clear that we support technological innovation and private and secure communications technologies, including end-to-end encryption." So, that's all right then, so long as, that sentence wasn't followed by a but or anything. But this cannot come as a cost to public safety, and it is critical that decisions are taken by those with democratic accountability. And this is the impossible square that is always being circled. You could make the case that end-to-end encryption has a threat to public safety because it enables bad people to send secure messages to each other for nefarious purposes. And at the same time, you can always say that any scheme to break encryption in a way designed to catch exactly those people basically destroys any reality of privacy and security for the rest of us. So, at some point, you have to decide which one it's going to be. Which is the lesser of the two evils that you're going to accept as the consequence of the benefits of the other. Governments have shown, as indeed Edward Snowden revealed, that given a chance they are just beachy with them being able to listen in or read your private communications, just in case you're up to no good. Now, governments come and they go. What one defines as no good, which you may or may not agree with, may be rather different to what the next one does, which may be sharply different. So while democratic oversight, yeah, sure, but are we happy to give carte blanche for them to decide that they can break the system in the name of what they promise will be only good snooping? The tech companies are clear on this. They have chosen security and privacy as the chief benefit that should be available to everyone, and the fact that includes bad people is the lesser of the two evils that is the price to be paid. To the degree where Apple and WhatsApp and Signal have said that they will pull their services from the UK if they're asked to undermine encryption in order to comply with the law. Meta, the owner of Facebook, and particularly, of course, Messenger, has been rolling out end-to-end encryption, sort of as a catch-up job, really. The Home Secretary, James Cleverly, issued a statement saying he was disappointed that the company had done this, only, of course, because it would make tracing child abusers more difficult. Now, that doesn't sound to me like the words of someone who fully supports end-to-end encryption, which is what the government spokesperson suggested. Peers in the House of Lords proposed a number of amendments to this bill at the committee stage. Well, the government simply rejected every one of them. So expect to hear more about this in the months to come, as the UK, according to some, continues to try to turn tech companies into the unwilling arms of a surveillance state. All right, just a short episode this week. I know I would love to be engaging in lots of reflection and review of the year to come, and, some of the other big issues of the day, because there have certainly been some that would have been interesting to talk about. However, the first 2 weeks of 2024, this week and next week, are something of a blowout for me, with some rather specific and very all-consuming work commitments. We'll be back to full strength in due course. In the meantime, my thanks to the people who support this channel on Patreon, without whom that going back to normal in the due course would simply not be possible. If you would like to join them, please head on over to patreon.com/Mallen Baker. There are other ways to support the channel in the video description below. Either way, have a great week. See you next time.